Hello, and welcome back to my channel. I am standing in front of my bookshelves again because I have something planned for today. I want to go through all of my books and write down every single book that I haven't read so that I have like a collection of my entire physical TBR. I even have a clipboard because I'm a professional. You may notice that I have rearranged again since my last rearranging video, which, by the way, got so many more views than my videos usually get. So if you are here from that video, or generally if you've seen that video, thank you so much. That is really cool. The plan is that I will go through all my books, pull out the ones that I haven't read, so I can also count them, so I know which, like, how many I have read and how many I haven't read. I will divide them, I will write them down, I will divide them into the genres and write them down. And I think I will just read the list to you at the end and tell you how many books from each genre. I won't be able to go into detail because then this video would be like an hour long or something. And also, I haven't read these books, so I couldn't go into detail even if I wanted to. Okay, I feel way too powerful with my clipboard and my little pen right here. It's fantastic. I will start with the classics, which are on these both like top two shelves. And then I think I might just put this down for a second and literally just go through and pull out all the books that I haven't read, so we can go through them after and write them down. That sounds like a plan. Alright, I have finished. I have almost two full pages. I've gone through all the books. I hope I've kind of like all sorted them into their respective genres, and I will tell you what categories I split them up into. Also how I think of them in those categories. Like, for example, I gave Harry Potter its whole entire genre, basically, because quite frankly that's what it deserves. No, and also I have so many books, and I also think in, oh, have I read that Harry Potter book? And it's not just the 8 books, I mean everything that kind of belongs to that universe. You will see in a second. Let me sit down, and then I will read this list to you and let you know how many books are on my physical TBR and what they are. I will start with the classics. I have 43 classics in total that I've counted, and unread are 18, which I think generally this is the genre I have most books of, and also it's the genre I have the most unread books in, which makes sense, I guess. So, the unread classics I own are the Iliad, the Odyssey, Dante's Inferno, which is the first part of the Divine Comedy, the Sonnets by William Shakespeare. I have read a few, I haven't finished the book, so I'm counting it as I, not read. Then Julius Caesar and Hamlet as well by Shakespeare. I have a little Shakespeare collection, and those are the two books I haven't read from that collection. I have Hamlet in the ugliest edition because it's a bilingual edition, and it's I will read it from that edition because I bought it and I will use it now, but once I've read it, I will get rid of that and get a nicer edition so it actually also like fits the other books in that little collection more. And then I have The Pickwick Papers by Charles Dickens, which is one of the books I painted in the Painting My Books video, which has been a while ago. The Three Musketeers. Then I have the uncensored Picture of Dorian Gray. I have read The Picture of Dorian Gray, one of my favorite books of all time. I have the uncensored Picture of Dorian Gray, which is, I think, yeah, it's the uncensored book, because the original, there like a few scenes or a few things had to be taken out from that original book before it was published, and then now when it's allowed, have those scenes back. So I'm, you know, I have read the story, but I haven't read that particular book. David Copperfield, again, I started reading it, and I DNF'd that book, so I'm not quite sure how to categorize it, because I read like 250 pages of it or something, and it was just the most boring thing I've ever experienced in my entire life, so I stopped. Because I just wasn't interested at all. But yeah, I have it on my shelf just in case at some point I feel motivated enough to like pick it back up, but I doubt it. Continuing with Winnie the Pooh, Letters to a Young Poet by Rilke, To the Lighthouse, Virginia Woolf, The Sun Also Rises by Hemingway, To Kill a Mockingbird, I know I still haven't read To Kill a Mockingbird, 100 Years of Solitude, Maurice, and Ulysses. And that is it with all the classics that are on my physical TBR still. So right next to that, because it's a similar-ish, I have poetry, because I only own two like exclusively poetry books, which are the poetry of Emily Dickinson and selected poems by Rilke, and I haven't read either of them. So that's 2 out of 2 I haven't read. Next are short story collections. I own 3. I haven't read any of them, not completely at least. I have Desire by Haruki Murakami. I haven't read any of the short stories. Then I have a book which is literally just called Famous English Short Stories, so I don't really know what that is, to be honest with you, but I have it, and I haven't read it. And then a collection I started last winter, but I didn't finish, or I just read like 4 or 5 short stories, is called The Dark Blue Winter Overcoat, which is a collection of like Scandinavian short stories. And I actually quite enjoyed it. I just wasn't in the mood to continue with it. Moving on to fantasy. That's maybe one of the more interesting genres. I own 22 fantasy books. I counted both like more adult fantasy and younger fantasy, excluding Harry Potter because that gets its own genre. Actually have only 4 unread books in my fantasy section, and those are the Atlas 6. You can see right here, by the way. This is the Atlas 6. The Night Circus, this one. Court of Wings and Ruin, which is the 3rd book in the ACOTAR series, and that's a bit tricky because I read the first book. I read A Court of Thorns and Roses simply because I wanted to know what the hype was all about, and yeah, I'll talk about that in like my reading wrap-up video, but I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, and I'm currently reading A Court of Mist and Fury, which is the 2nd book. So the only other book in that series that I own is A Court of Wings and Ruin, which is the 3rd part. So that's on my physical TBR, but obviously part 4 and 5 are on the general TBR that I have in my head, you know. Because I still have The Witcher, the first book of the Witcher series at least, and Game of Thrones, also the 1st book. Haven't read it. Right, moving on to like a thriller / horror section. I found it a bit difficult to kind of split thriller, horror, mystery stuff, but I split it into like thriller and horror. I have 11 of those that I would categorize as such, and I have only 5 unread, which is like almost half. Yeah. The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein, which I started reading in November, but then I just wasn't in the mood for it, so I, put it back down. Not a DNF, because I'll definitely read it, but I just wasn't in the mood for it last time. I have The Silent Patient. I have Anatomy. The Night Manager, which when I now think about it actually probably fits into mystery a little bit better, because it's like a spy novel. Gótico, which is the Spanish book I own and still haven't read because I wanted to challenge myself. That's gone well. Let's continue with sci-fi, because I only have 5 sci-fi books and I have 2 unread. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and The Supernova Era, which is by the same author that wrote the 3 Body Problem trilogy, which is the other 3 books I have read and I would recommend to you. So good. So good. And I also saw that just came out as a series on Netflix. I will be watching that, but I'd probably be a little bit disappointed because I feel like nothing can top the first book, especially the first book. That was just, it was so fantastic. I have no words. Next genre is dark academia, which is down here. You can see a little bit of it. I have 4 books that I categorize as dark academia. Again, it was a bit difficult to say if it's like a mystery or dark academia, what I categorize as what, but this is just like my own opinion right now. Dark academia. I have 4 and I haven't read The 13th Tale and A Deadly Education, which is supposed to be kind of Harry Potter-ish, but darker, even though Harry Potter eventually gets kind of dark, so we'll see how that goes. The last genre on this page, mystery. My absolute favorite genre, I think, on here. I love reading mysteries. I love reading murder mysteries. It's just cozy, it's fun, it's like, I'm gonna say it's not too serious, even though it's like a murder mysteries, but it doesn't feel like, it's just good fun reading a good murder mystery, you know what I mean? I have 14 that I categorize as such, and I haven't read 8 of them, which are The Ship of Theseus, or Book of S, which is this one. I wasn't too sure if that actually would like count as literary fiction or dark academia or mystery, but I just categorize it as mystery now. I have The Tomb of Hercules. I have The Paris Apartment, Grave Expectations, which I think is a fantastic title. Murder is Easy by Agatha Christie. The Thursday Murder Club, The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, and Christmas is Murder, which I tried reading in around Christmas time, but I just did not get to it, to be honest. Next genre, mythology. I have 14 books that are about mythology or mythology retellings. I counted both fiction and non-fictional mythology books here. So I only have 4 unread, because most of my, especially the retellings, I kind of read all of them because I love that as well. I have 2 books that are called Loki, and I haven't read either of them. And I have the Saga of the Volsungs, which is like kind of like the Poetic Edda, but it's just one specific story. And then I have a book called Mythologies of the World, which is just like a general, it gives you information about all the different mythologies of the world. Well, surprise. Then continuing to contemporary romance. I have 12 books that I would categorize as contemporary romance, which is My Little Rainbow, if you've seen that. And there's only 2 in there that I haven't read, which is Red, White, and Royal Blue and The American Roommate Experiment. I gotta be honest with you, The American Roommate Experiment is the second book by Elena Armas, who wrote The Spanish Love Deception, and I read The Spanish Love Deception, and I have a video where I rant about it on my channel. I didn't enjoy it that much, so I'm just not really, I don't really want to read The American Roommate Experiment, but also I'm like, well, I paid money for the book, so I might as well try it. I can give it a try. And then Red, White, and Royal Blue, I have as an audiobook at the moment. I haven't started it yet, which is why it's on this list still, but I might be able to cross it off at the end of the month. To literary fiction, I have 20 literary fiction books, which is more than I expected, honestly, because I don't really read that genre a lot. Granted, I counted the 2 like historical fiction books I have in here as well, just because I don't have enough to like count that as an extra genre, to be honest. I have 6 unread books from literary fiction, which are Hamnet, Dead Poets Society, The Perfect Circle, Vladimir, Cleopatra and Frankenstein, and Night Train to Lisbon. Moving on to nonfiction in general, I have split nonfiction into general nonfiction, science, and biographies, which, you know, I could have counted them all of them together, but I kind of do make the distinction in my head, so I wanted to have the distinction on here as well. So general nonfiction, not specified. I have 6 books and 5 of them are unread. The only book I have read is an essay collection, and the 5 unread books are How to Date Men When You Hate Men, which is a gift from my best friend, which, you know, it's just funny to me. Meaningful Women, Men in the Shadows. Then I have a book about an opera, Die Zauberflöte, which is an opera by Mozart. Yeah, I think I picked that up at like a flea market at some point. It's been a while. It's been here for a while. And then SPQR by Mary Beard, about the Roman Empire. By the way, especially with the next category, if there's a few books that I only have in German, so I'm translating the German titles into English, so just in case you want to like look up any of those books and you don't find them under the title, I apologize, but it's not that many. I just you know, I don't know the English titles. All right, then science nonfiction. I have 13 science books and 6 of them are unread, which are Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. I have read his other like brief answers to the big questions, which I absolutely loved. Black Holes by Brian Cox. Coincidence. QED, which is Latin for Quod Erat Demonstrandum, which is what you write, like that abbreviation, you write that at the end of a mathematical proof. And I study maths just in case. I feel like that's information you need, because otherwise this is a very strange list. Then My Worldview by Albert Einstein, and Last Riddles in Mathematics, which is also a book I haven't read. I have a few more like math and science books that I have already read, but yeah. Last nonfiction category is biographies. I own 9. There's only one I haven't read, which is Prince. I started the Prince biography actually, so it's like a half a book I haven't read already. Last but not least, Harry Potter. Yes, it's its own genre because I have quite a few of like from that universe that are not just the Harry Potter books, because I have 14 books that I would label as Harry Potter universe, Harry Potter genre, and 3 of them I haven't read. So that is A Quidditch Through the Ages, Fantastic Beasts. I actually have not read Fantastic Beasts. I've only seen the movies. And Snape, A Definitive Reading, which is literally a character study of Snape. And I love that. That is it. I feel like I've talked so much now, and I'm sorry if that's like, if I talked your ear off just now. I will probably be back with a monthly wrap-up at the end of the month, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching this. Let me know what's on your TBR for the month, or generally, I invite you to count all of the books that you have not read, but that you own. Oh, actually, I think I could put up a number here of the total amount of unread books I have versus read books. That might be interesting because I didn't actually calculate that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, a great morning, a great night, a great evening, and I would love to see you in my next video. Right. Bye bye.